Hi, it's Joy Foster, founder of TechPixies and the host of the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. And today we are joined by a very special guest, a woman named Sarah Darling, who came into the TechPixie world during the pandemic in 2020. And really, her life has transformed incredibly from what it was to where it is now over the last 3 years. So I wanted to have a chat with her and have her tell you her story. Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Joy. Thank you very much for asking me. Very excited.
Well, you've come on as an alumni panelist before, but I really wanted to share your story on the podcast because it's such a special story. And there's so many amazing parts. So let's just start with where you're at when you stumbled across TechPixies or TechPixies found you. We don't really quite know who found who.
Yeah, no, I truly believe you just saying that you found me. I think it was very much like that because I think I was, searching, and sometimes your psyches just get kind of like queued up with these things. But yes, it was in the pandemic. My mom had been diagnosed with cancer, and I was feeling very emotional, very vulnerable, and I was caring for my mom. She was in a home, and I was told at the time that she hadn't gone on to live, although she did last that little bit longer. So all, but I think when I was scrolling, I didn't actually know what I was scrolling for, to be honest with you, but I just spent days endlessly just scrolling through my phone because I am a little bit of a tech dinosaur, but
You
also
were,
very.
you were.
I was. Still, I'm just a little bit, but yes, I felt completely trapped when the pandemic happened. I was completely trapped, and I wasn't aware of how trapped I was in this little box with no communication because I'm very
Because
much.
you'd moved into the nursing home or the care home with your mother.
That's right. They got a little guest room there, and obviously, we had to stay with the people that were close to us. And I had this choice, and my mum was over then in Stratford upon Avon, and I lived over in Herefordshire. And it was just that choice I had to make because I was obviously seeing my mum constantly and regularly, and the thought of not seeing her for 3 months in the lockdown was just not going to happen. So I then left my family and went over to stay with my mom. So then it was even a darker place because I had no communication with the outside world. Yes, of course, you got phones. Yes, I got FaceTime to speak to my daughter, but I just I felt very alone at the time, and anyway, so then of course the scrolling through, and then I just saw this halo of light. And I just thought, wow, this is just something to get involved in and see what it is. And not only that, but just get out I can't tell you how hard it was to actually press even just that, to do something, because the fear of joining into something that was just, it's all kind of like new to me. It wasn't like I'd never gone on YouTube, I'd never gone on, in my Instagram, but I just had nothing there. I'm very much a flip chart, and I could stand in front of 500 people and talk, and that was me. But then all of a sudden I couldn't breathe, and I felt extremely claustrophobic. It was quite a frightening bubble, for me at that time. I didn't know how to speak to people.
Well, and you described yourself as a tech dinosaur, which is a term that we've used on a regular basis because it's a term that women have used to describe themselves. And that's where you were at the time in terms, like you said, you were more flip chart, speak to 500 people, be in a room, but then to leverage the online side of things to move on to social media with a purpose for your business, that
Mm.
was a bit more challenging. So tell us about the business that you were doing and how that was affected by the pandemic.
Yes, well, I'm a very, very hands-on, but I'm a canine massage practitioner. So I provide canine massage, rehabilitation therapies, and lifestyle management to our gorgeous canine companions, our dogs, and our family. So that was affected. That's sort of swap from doing it with people. I was a sports massage therapist and personal trainer for 23 years. and then swapped on to dogs nearly 6 years ago now. So so in the pandemic, that was incredibly hard because I'm obviously devoted there, but I wasn't obviously able to help and support dogs in need. So that was incredibly hard. So I couldn't reach out. I couldn't reach out and help them from a distance either. You know, that was very painful for me, because when you're obviously that passionate about something that you do, what it did do is in the pandemic, when you could, we were allowed to walk, that 1 hour a day exercise that we were allowed to do. I actually went into Stratford Park. I was watching hundreds and hundreds of dogs a day. I just sit on the grass with my legs up with a little flask and just watch dogs. Oh, they look a bit lame. They're pulling on the lead. They're doing it. I learned so much watching dogs' gates every day. I think there's about 3,000 dogs are documented in that whole 3 months of watching. So I kind of had my fix watching them. I just couldn't, from a distance, I'd say, "Oh, can I just look at your dog's gate, please?" "Oh, what's wrong with your dog?" So, but
That's so funny.
I know.
So when you signed up for the boot camp and then you participated in the boot camp, what were you anticipating would you would learn, and what was the realization that you had while you were on the boot camp?
My judgment of what I would learn at the start, I have to tell you, and I don't mind being completely honest here, the first thing that just overwhelmed me, and what I didn't anticipate, was just actually it was just the community. I think it was just learning something new that I had no idea what I was learning. That just blew me away. On top of that, I thought initially you'd quite honestly teach me how to use my fingers and press things, and just it was that basic, but to just I needed to be in something, be with people, be in the community. That was the first thing. And but I wasn't even aware the profound feeling that I got, just realizing that I actually wasn't on my own, and there were people like me, and that was the biggest turning point for me, that I wasn't on my own, and that this word of the dinosaur I'd had in my head, and the fear of pressing go, the fear of typing a message and getting it out there, and letting people read your story, and what was my story, and had I got a story, and what on earth was I going to write about? I mean, it was just very profound but overwhelming. I didn't realize my life and my brain had content that people would want to hear about and see. I wasn't aware of that. I thought it was only what I could speak in front of somebody and they could see me and hear me, but I wasn't aware that I had the capability of doing that, and that was out there. I'd seen millions do it all the time because I read it on YouTube and on Facebook all the time. But for me, that didn't even come into the, I just didn't even think about that. Is that crazy? That just sounds mad, doesn't it? Really, it's just.
I think it's a very common experience that a lot of people have on the boot camp, is this sort of realization that there is a method to getting that message out, and then doing it, and then embracing it. And I guess that's the next question I have for you is, at some point in the boot camp, towards the end, we invite you to continue your learning with TechPixies. And you made the decision to do that. And of course, that led to you leaning in and learning even more. And I want to talk about some of the wonderful things that came from that. But what was your driving factor in making the decision to invest in yourself and to continue your learning?
I wanted to create a community and reach out to them and show them what they could do to help their dogs. I think that was it. What I offer, but just also what the public could do, what these wonderful pet parents and parents can do to help their dogs. That was my main thing, is just showing them what I do, but how easy it is, and the simple things they can do in life to help their animals.
So on the boot camp, you had a realization, okay, I can use social media to get my message out there and reach people and build an online community about people who care about their dogs, and educating them on how they can take better care of them.
Yeah.
And so I love that so much. And I remember really vividly early on in the program, after you'd signed up and after you were in it, where you came on and you did a very emotional post, which there was a lot going on in your life, right? But one of the things you said is like, it took me 20 hours to create this one post. And that was your very first one. And I remember sort of thinking, you know, the first is the worst. It's the hardest to get out there and find your message and your voice. But let me ask you today, you know, 3 years later, does it still take you 20 hours to craft a post, create a post, get it out there? Because I've seen some amazing content from you, and I'm guessing you've really cut down that time because you've gotten faster.
You're gonna so shout at me now. Do you know? Yes, it's not quite as long. It's not quite as long, but I do struggle. But that is only one. I still find myself as being like it has to be kind of perfect before it goes out. That is just something. It's just I'm a work in progress. I am still a work in progress. I feel that, you know, I see posts go out and I just think, oh God, why didn't I just do that? It's just so simple with hardly any text and stuff. But I feel it has to be this huge story, you know. And there are times, sometimes it can take about 7 months if it's an in-depth story about a dog I've been working on. You know, seen these little mini movies that I do, and I love the fact that I do that because it brings something to life, you know.
Well,
So
and I want to point this out because it's really important. What the content you create is really unique because of the video message, and it's very similar to the stories where you see, you know, the problem and then you see the transformation of that dog, and they are really well crafted. So I do want to acknowledge you for the fact that they are like mini films. This isn't just like I'm just going to slap up a picture and tell a story. You actually craft these films. But the question I have is, when you were creating that very first post that took you 20 hours to create the content and pick the picture, because it was just a sort of a picture copy text, I think, post, to where you are now, you know, would you ever have imagined that you'd now be crafting these mini dog films now, 3 years ago?
do you know, 3 years ago, no, I'd probably just be sat in a corner weaving baskets with a padded cell. In all honesty, if I didn't have that outlet, Joy, I think I would self-combust. I would just go, you know, no, I'm in a totally different place. Yes, it may take time, but also being dyslexic, I have those little struggles, you know. But that's an always thing. But no, it is completely different. But it's not only just the doing the post, it's communicating, it's the confidence that it's given me on my computer skills, doing the vet reports. With all the vet reports I send have these mini videos with them.
Oh, that's
So,
genius.
because for vets, they don't get to see this is what's really important, because they get a report, and I'm just saying, you know, medial pull to the left, they're doing this, they're doing that sort of thing. But I do these miniature of their whole gait report, which is all got the a little grammar next to it. You know, they've got all the little sayings of what's happening to the dog, so they can see what I'm looking at. So vets are coming back to me just saying, you know, this is really great, I can see this, yes, bring them back in, you know. So they get these in the report. So it's, for my work, it has just been fantastic, you know, because that's it's just building it's made me more professional
Well,
in
it basically instantly raises your authority, right?
yeah.
You have these case studies and you're able to really clearly show and demonstrate that you've been able to impact a dog's life in a positive way. Also, like the amount of reading that vets probably have to do, being able to see it visually is just like, it cuts the time down in half, and they can just say, okay, right, I can trust this person. They know what they're doing. I've seen, and you've got all of these case studies, which I think is brilliant. That is such a cool thing that you've just done that. And in a way, it's what we do a lot on the podcast, is share stories, these transformational stories. It's like, here's where this person was, and then they did the program, and here's where they are now. And it's the same concept, but the more of those you can build up, and the visual version of it is so important. I love that so much. I love that you do that.
Yeah, and it's really good because in a vet, I mean, like people that are actually hearing this, that have pets that take them to the vets, in a vet consult room, they can have about 10 minutes so a vet doesn't get a chance to see the gait. So you will go along, even whether it's like a cat or a dog, you just say, oh, my cat's not walking right. You take it to the vet, and within that 10 minutes, because their animals are very stoic, they don't show anything in a in a consult room, and so they don't see it. Where I get like an hour and a half or 2 hours with these people, so I can actually get to see it over a long period of time. So it really helps. It really helps them. For my clients and for my community, when they're saying, do you think you could help my dog? I then send them videos of what I've done, because the majority of issues they have, whether it's a surgery or, a cruciate injury, or they've got a back issue, they've got arthritis, or just, muscular health issues, that I've covered a lot of them. So I have this video footage so I can actually send them. So rather than just saying, yes, I can do this, generally when it's our animals, they're our family, and if you can see it visually, oh, my dog does that as well, oh, I can do this, it really helps build the trust, like, and
Yeah,
it's
the
just
no like and trust
no
factor, which
like
is
and
what we
trust.
talk a lot about.
No like and trust.
Okay, so let's talk about, your skills obviously transformed, and I'm just going to make an assumption here, but I'm pretty sure I'll be right on this one. By doing these case studies, by building up this authority, that's also probably allowed you to increase your rates and to have more confidence with your pricing.
Yeah, yes, it has. Not a lot, but I definitely have, and I structure it. I structure it a lot differently now with my industry. I know there are a lot of therapists out there that obviously do charge maybe a little bit more than me. I'm not undercharging too much, but I probably still don't know with. But I want to. My main that's for me personally, and I have that choice to do that. I still make a good income from it, but I want to make sure that I can help as many as possible, and not everybody has the funds to help their pets. So it's more important to me that it is affordable for them to help their pets. So
But you've got to a place where it's created a good income for you, and that's the
yes,
important thing.
yes,
That's
yeah.
what, I was in teaching the boot camp. I always remind people that, leveraging social media, which leveraging means using it for a purpose, right? Not just using it for no purpose, really,
Yes.
or just scrolling through, but really using it for a purpose. One of those purposes could be financial independence. And a lot of women come to TechPixies to build up their confidence and financial independence.
It is.
So that's
It's
important.
self-worth. I before I started TechPixies, I in the human world, when I had my business, I was kind of ruthless. I was a different person altogether. When you work with animals, it goes to mush. I can't tell you, it just goes to mush. But I felt I had value then, and I lost that. So you helped me find my value, my self-worth. That was something fantastic. With the voice came confidence, and I found that self-worth, which was wonderful.
Well, let's talk about that side of it, because that's really that USP of TechPixies. Obviously learning social media is important, but it's really who you become in the process, and that personal transformation of self-worth. So how did that impact the rest of your life, and what things changed for you as a result of you finding your self-worth?
Oh my goodness me. Oh my goodness me. Yes. Well, making some on the work side, making some incredible contacts within my industry, because it gave me one of the platforms I didn't think I would enjoy, because I found it actually quite frightening, was LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, that's where I connected with some amazing therapists and vets, and like Anna Webb from the TV. So I did like interviews, did big workshops, and gone to shows, so which is fantastic. And so a radio interview on Dogcast Radio, articles in magazines. So things led just by building up the community. I mean, like when we was in the pandemic, and so I went on to the LinkedIn bit, because, and if anybody, so for people who are listening and that have been frightened for LinkedIn, can I just say, I personally thought I wasn't allowed on there, because I was somebody who wore tracksuits and, covered in dog hair, and on LinkedIn, you had to wear a suit. You had to be in a suit.
That's what you thought anyway.
But that's what I thought. And it isn't, because then you help me just understand, well, actually, everybody on there, the majority of people are animal lovers, they've got pets and everything. So I had something to offer there, and it made me realize on any platform, it's you as an individual and what you have, that you can bring into their home and what context. So I just sort of chilled it right down and just said, hi, this is me, this is what I do. And it was just wonderful. And it gave me the confidence to say hi. And literally, while we were in the pandemic and we're sort of building up the community on LinkedIn, I did not stop. I was connecting with people every day. I think in literally the space of 10 days, I've got like over 500. I just was that I want to connect with you. And they come back, why do you want to connect with me? Because you have animals. I've seen your posts and this is what I do, and I just want to be surrounded by people that, that understand what I do and that I can connect with. And so it was lovely. That was absolutely lovely. And even though, and one thing that I found is that I don't post as regular as I like, but then I'm with 60 to 70 dogs a month. It's incredibly difficult for me. So when I get back at night, like nearly 10 o'clock last night from working, it's hard then to sit down and do a post. And today's another busy day with dogs.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that in the boot camp and in our program I teach, one post a week is enough.
Yeah.
And just creating that one post and getting that one post out via email to the people that are on your mailing list, that's really enough. And it's the consistency of that that's so important. And in fact, we just interviewed in the mastermind, I just interviewed Kathy Hay, who runs historic costuming. And she now, because her audience is so big, and I think the bigger you get, the less content you actually have to create. And that's something people don't realize. So it's almost like you create the content to build a community, and then you figure out new ways to reach more people without having to create more content. That's something we talk about. We have something called the eyeball matrix, which I talk about now in the boot camp and also in our strategy module. But really, it's this idea, like Kathy was saying, she's now at a place where, she's got hundreds of thousands of followers and she has an email list, and she really creates one really high quality video a month. And she makes sure that gets out to her audience through social media and email. And that's enough for her because of the size of her audience. So I think it is true. The more, the bigger, the more you've been around, the longer you've been around, you can sort of, ease off on the content. However, I really do think a staple is one good piece of content every week. And then just emailing that out to your list, because that keeps that know, like, and trust factor up. It keeps the reminder that you're there, and it helps them out. So I think that's definitely, so people beat themselves up on like not doing 7 posts a week, but you shouldn't do 7 posts a week anyway. That'll exhaust anyone.
No, and I like to, yes, I have like little cutie things sometimes that I'll post out, which is nice, and I'll do those as a story, because they're not that. But the posts, I like them to resonate. I like them to people to actually look at them and think, and it gives them a feeling. All my posts, I'm so passionate as I'm doing it. I can be quite teary when I'm doing a post, because especially it's very personal to me. So generally the feedback that I get, is because it's resonated with them. It's made them feel something.
Yeah, that's so important. Now let's talk about how also what your self-worth does on a personal level. What changed for you personally?
Oh, I became very confident in myself. I became, well, yeah, lots happened. Well, one, actually, it gave me a lot of strength to deal with some of the things I was dealing with, but also, and I got married as well. I know I had some big changes happening in my personal life and making decisions, but also it gave me, we're talking about self-worth again. It's amazing how your life can be shaped by how you feel inside, and you think that that's all fantastic, but when you gain a confidence and a self-worth, what you want, what's important to you, and then it makes you realize that actually, is this what I want? Is this going to make me happy? And if it's sort of like almost there, then what can I do to make this right for me. So what it did, it was a saying that I actually said, I think that Sophie picked up on it ages ago, was just that it gave me a voice to reach to the stars, It just allowed me to, evaluate my life, but be confident to say what it was that I wanted. And by doing that, brought so much happiness into my world. It really did, and had conversations with people, people close to me, that made me realize, actually, this is pretty good. I can make things happen here, and be a very happy person inside, and have the support and the love that I wanted, by just being me, and not a true version of myself that would have made a lot of other people happy, except for me. But I realized I've been doing that for many, many years, because I thought I got a voice, but I hadn't got my voice. I just got a voice that echoed for everybody else's, gain, rather than mine. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Well, and at TechPixies, we have lots of stars, and really it's, that concept of being able to look up at the sky and just think, for every star represents a woman, and that goes on and on and on forever and ever. And, the impact that that's had also, you're a mother, and you have a daughter, and I think when
Who's about to have a baby in 3 weeks, by the way.
Oh, you're gonna be a grandmother. Wow, that's a big deal. And I think that you just gave away your age, although I don't think anyone would have known at all where you were in life. But this is the other thing I love about TechPixies. We work with women from all walks of life. We have a lot of women who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s now in the program, because that's a period of time. Those are women who've sort of missed the technological revolution, if they were raising children or looking after an elderly parent or things like that. So that's really interesting. But yeah, so that's very exciting. Congratulations. I mean, no one would ever guess you're going to be a grandmother, by the way. But I think that's so cool. But let's just circle back to that for a second. So you have a daughter, and your ability to lean into your self-worth and know who you are, that also impacted her. Because she sang at your wedding. There were all sorts of things that it had a knock-on effect around. And this is true. I think it does. I think when we know who we are and we model that for other people, they lean into it themselves. So it was incredible to watch not only you transform, but the impact that had on your daughter.
It did, but also, I know it sounds silly, but I could actually better care for my mum. You know what I mean? Because it's amazing. You get, when you actually lose a little bit of confidence, and you get so engulfed, you get so emotional with situations more. I found that I couldn't think straight. And do you remember? You're not going to forget it. Do you remember, like, the emotional video that I did on TikTok?
I was trying to find it actually before it came on, just
to go back, because what started off as a little talk ended up in this. I remember it so well. And yes, I was always there, caring, always been a carer for everybody, really, rather than myself. I wasn't good at self-care, but you get so involved, but when you just don't take time to think and decompress, and sometimes you do need to structure things so you can help better, and when I said on that video, I'll never forget it, I said that you were, what was that part in it when you had to pretend that you were in a house and looking at what you're going to be, and that part of it, and I just said that it was like opening a Pandora's box. You've opened a Pandora's box, and it was just so overwhelming. And it was almost like this lid had come off, and this of thoughts and this and emotions of passage, and I couldn't contain it in. But when it was all out, and then I got all the support around you, and I mean everybody, like Teresa, Sophie, I mean, you just all there, and all the TechPixies, and this amazing group that we had, which was just phenomenal. It was just phenomenal. It was like I was able to put my life and my feelings and things in these compartments and draw on them as I needed it. So it sort of helped ground me and get through some of the most painful moments, but even just like the organization of things, and going back to the wedding, and I think you saw the video that that I did show my mom and the fake wedding that we did at the home, which was unbelievable, but to go in and just organize a second, I was just like in pow, pow, and doing all my dogs at the same time and doing all this at the same time. And that part on a professional level, and a personal level has helped so much, that I can do all these things around me, but have these little boxes, organizational boxes, and I can give you that much emotionally, but I've got to pull that back now because I've got to do that now and that now. So it's really helped that by allowing me to get all my fears out. And one thing, we recently just went on holiday, and I did lots of little stories when I was there rather than posts, but I just put them as little stories. And it's our first holiday in 5 years, because since the pandemic as well, and mom, and it just was too much, everything was too much. So the first time we went away for our honeymoon, we went to the Lake District for a couple of days, and that was it. So, but we went to Barbados. So we went to Barbados for 10 days. We got back on the 13th of December. And it was at my biggest holiday. It was just amazing. But one of the posts I did was actually, I remember there was nobody dancing at the hotel. It was all outside. It was just beautiful. But we got bands there every night. And I just got up. I just got up and danced. Nobody else was not dancing. And I was just doing this post. I did this post, and it was different times I've got up dancing, and Sean was videoing me just on my own. They're loving it, and just saying that it's when you step outside of your comfort zone where dreams are made, where your confidence grows, where dreams can come true, when you step out your comfort zone. And when I was doing that, and I did that post, of course, I just came straight back in my head to you. I think about you all the time, you especially, because everywhere I go, I went to buy a cushion the other day, and there was a velvet cushion in green with joy in glitter on the front of it. It's just it's there wherever I go anyway. But it was is that you helped me step out the comfort zone. And we all get that fear, because we knock on the same door every day. You just not going to just opening the same life, the same door, the same problems. But we never, if you just knock on a different one, or you just open a different door and go through it, and just just get through that, shake that comfort zone up a little bit. It's that. I mean, that is where life happens, isn't it? It's doing something that you're a little bit frightened of, that little bit nervous of, that gives you confidence, and helps you grow and shapes your life. And so although, in my nature, I do get a little bit nervous and things, but I step out of my comfort zone so much more now than I've ever done, digitally, if you know what I mean, as well as, like I said before, I'm a people's person, and I can get up there and go into the public and do it. But I'd even lost that confidence a little bit, really, as well. But it's given me that I will step out of my comfort zone. And that's where I've learned. Doing TechPixies was stepping out of my comfort zone, getting incredibly involved in that. And
for me, moving TechPixies online was out of my comfort zone, and running those boot camps was out of my comfort zone. And
yeah,
I'm right there with you guys. I was out of my comfort zone too. And I think it's really interesting. One of the things that helped me was when I put myself out of my comfort zone, I had to get additional coaching and support in order to push myself through to the next level. I still have coaching and support. In fact, I think if you have a coach and your coach doesn't have a coach, you got a problem. It's like having a counselor. The counselor doesn't have a counselor. Like, you got to make, your coach has to have a coach. And for me, it was really important that I was investing in myself, that I could deal with all of my fears that I was facing. And actually, it was around that time that I learned the neuroscience behind fear and how to tackle it. And then I was able to take all the learnings that I had gained for myself with all the fears that I had to overcome to even get that cohort off the ground. With the pandemic, I didn't know how it was going to go. And I remember thinking, should I even run this boot camp? Should I even raise my prices? All these fears around it. And then in the end, I read a book listened to a book on Audible about 4 times called Fear is Not the Boss of Me, or Fear is Not the Boss of You, by Jennifer Allwood. And there were some really powerful messages in there for me. And then I found a a master neuro coach that I worked with, and then became a master neuro coach myself, because I was able to learn how to face fear, look at fear in the face, befriend it, and then
Yeah.
just go walk right through it or around it and get to the other side,
Yeah.
and then once you've done it, like you said, once you get it out of your head, face it, deal with it, you can then move forwards. And that's a lot of what we do at TechPixies, is really help women identify what's the greatest fear I have around social media. Usually it's fear of judgment. It's cognitive bias. It might be perfectionism. It might be imposter syndrome, particularly with LinkedIn, for example, and how we face it, we deal with it, we learn how to use the software, we leverage it to our advantage, and then you get this superhero strength. And that's why we call it the Social Media Superhero Bootcamp. That's what we're trying to do, is create superheroes so that you feel like you can face any change, any challenge, any condition, circumstance, situation, with that magic cape of confidence that you've built up over time. And so, I just love your story, and I always tell your story, because I always tell your story along LinkedIn. When I teach LinkedIn, I always tell your story, because I know that was a network you just thought, well, this isn't going to work for me, and then come to find out it worked really well for you. So that's you
And
just
we
never
tend to
know.
forget, though, don't we? When you talk about like fear and negative thoughts and things, but we do forget that. Could we say to ourselves, well, look, this is just me, I'm a person, and I'm friendly, and I'm doing this and that, and I'm just scared of all these people. But we just forget they're also just people like yourself. I would look at you and think, oh my God, it's sure I haven't done my homework. What am I going to do with this person? Oh, she's just so amazing. She's genius. She knows everything. She just knows everything, and I know nothing. But then, if you sort of just draw it back, you said that always look at everybody as if they're naked, makes you relax. But everybody is. They're all there. They all have their fears. Like you said, that they've got their coaches, they've got their fears, they've got their home problems, they've got this going on, they've got that going. We're all just people. You're just the same, different knowledge, different place, but we can all learn, we can all do our own thing, but not to be frightened, because we're all just people.
Well, and of course, I care massively. Well, Desmond Tutu was a huge inspiration for me. And one of the things that he used to talk about is Ubuntu, which is people are people because of other people. And I believe in that really completely and wholly, that we are all interconnected.
Yes.
And some of us are aware of that and some of us are not. And as soon as we're aware of this consciousness stream that's connecting all of us, and how we behave and how we act and how we respond, in these moments of challenge, how it affects other people, and how we, like you said, you can't change the outside until you change the inside. And, and I think that's so important. So I loved having this conversation with you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us.
Can I just say congratulations as well on your well-deserved award. You're just an incredible human being. You really are. You deserve all the wonderful things that life has to offer, because you're very, very special. You have the heart and soul of an angel, and I just love you to bits. And thank you,
Sarah. Do not make me cry on the podcast. I appreciate that so much. And it's really interesting, because one of the things we talk about, I have another program now that we run as well, which a lot of TechPixies do, which is called Dream Builder. And one of the things we talk about is that sense of deserving. And a lot of women don't believe they deserve financial independence, awards, acknowledgement, recognition, success. They don't believe they deserve it. And I was definitely one of those women who didn't, for whatever reason, I didn't believe I deserved it. And even if someone had said that to me, well, even now, sometimes when someone says something like that to me, I have that sort of moment of, do I really deserve this comment that this other person's making? And I've had to learn how to say thank you, and I appreciate that, and I accept it, and really accept it, because sometimes I think as women we just go, oh yeah, no, thank not a big deal. But I think I've learned, and I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to just say I deeply appreciate that. And
if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be sat here right now having a chat with you. So,
well, it's mutual admiration club here, my friend. I tell your story every time on the boot camp, but I I wanted to give a podcast to go along with telling your story. And now we've got it, because now this is the real deal. It's out there in the world. And thank you for leaning into the things that you were afraid of leaning into, and thank you for trusting TechPixies with that start of that journey. We say a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, and that first step was signing up for the boot camp, and the second step was joining our follow-on program, and the next step is really fully leaning into your life.
And there is still more to come, because my confidence is still growing. There's still areas I'm working on, so it is happening. It is still happening. I know I'm a slow burner, but watch this space.
But you're burning.
I'm burning.
You're on fire.
I am fire.
All right. On that note, I'm going to wrap it up. And I know this story will be really fun for people to listen to, especially those who know you as well. It's always fun to get that catch up within the community. So thank you again for your time, and we'll catch up later.
Thank you. Bye.